you're interested in magic, the esoteric, the occult, spiritual discipline, or developing your psychic, ESP, mediumship abilities, then you've reached the right place. I'm going to share a little bit of insight with you here. A few clips from conversations I've had on Telegram and some groups. I prefer organic dissemination of information personally. However, there's also a little bit of a warning. You see, there are a lot of these woke occultists about these days, and I call them woke occultists, people that have glorified the intelligence and the intellect. And this is a pattern that they have learned from many of the books. And the books that we have been fed, which I believe are largely by design due to a corrupt printing press, which is owned by big money, and a little boys' club that manages the affairs of the occult and has decided in their little circles how to feed us information and what to feed us exactly. And when it comes to matters of the occult and esoteric, it's very easy to sculpt a false narrative. And I believe that our occult sciences and spiritual sciences have been heavily polluted by these gentlemen sitting at their desks. In other words, most of the books that you're going to read on magic, sorcery, the occult, are written by people that read books, and they compiled much of their information from other people that read books, who wrote books, that read books, that wrote books. But the real question is, how much actual practice did these people have? Did they actually do magic? And it's like the idea of learning about carpentry from somebody who read books about carpentry, written by other people who had read books about carpentry, but at no point there was an actual carpenter involved in the process of the information being disseminated. So it's really important for us to grasp this, that YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, they're full of these people teaching these so-called occult sciences as they've read about them in books. And this defeats the purposes, because the esoteric and the occult is not something you can learn. It's not an intellectual series of little facts that you can memorize, although this is how it's treated. And people call it esoteric because they are finding little patterns that they can memorize. However, esoteric is an attitude. The occult is a state of mind. It's being able to see into the unseen, to see into the invisible and through that which is not obvious. And we've become so colored by our perceptions based upon our intellectual wonderings that we've lost sight of what the true mysteries are of the human spirit. Let me take you on a little adventure. We're going to deep dive into the heart of sorcery. We're going to get some insights into what it is we need to be focusing on and how it is we can find ourselves at the heart of this great potential to liberate the powers of the human spirit and to gain insight into the mechanics of the world around us so that we can become part of this co-creative experience and dig deep within ourselves and discover the roots of personal power. Come with me. Let's take a little journey into the unseen. Knowledge is not wisdom, nor is it understanding. Belief is not knowledge, so it is neither connected to wisdom, nor is it connected to understanding. For if one considers what is knowledge, knowledge is when wisdom is embedded within understanding. So wisdom is an expression of experience, and the experience of what is profound when it is applied to the principles of understanding, which is the ability to cognitively relate the various aspects of a model in terms of rational progression and the structure of the being. When one has the experience and the wisdom, one has knowledge, for knowledge is the child of wisdom and of understanding. Belief is something altogether different. Belief is when you take the leaves off of a tree and now you pretend that you know the tree,
because you have the leaf. You cannot know the tree by the leaf. You can know the tree by experiencing the tree. The leaf is a part of a tree. When we believe, we leave ourselves and our hearts behind. When we leave our hearts and ourselves behind, we leave true knowledge behind. For knowledge has a facet of experience that is applied for it to be considered true as knowledge. Beliefs are delusions. Beliefs are other people's ideas that have been understood without wisdom. To understand something and apply it without wisdom is to believe. Belief is the structure of illusion, and so it cannot lead to the truth. So whether or not one believes for, or whether one believes against, is of immaterial relativity. Immaterial, as in there is no matter that can be understood by belief or not believing. So if belief is the thing that you seek, delusion is the thing that you seek. For knowledge has nothing to do with belief. Knowledge has to do with experience. If it is true knowledge of sorcery that you seek, you should seek true sorcery, and the knowledge will come because the experience will flow. But while the mind is stretching its hands towards belief or disbelief, one cannot know, for one cannot have two masters. The mind either bows to the master of belief or the mind bows to the master of knowledge. If it is true knowledge that you seek, belief should have no place in your mind. The mind should be empty of belief. There should be no master in the master chair. The mind should be waiting for the master of knowledge to appear and take a seat. And when the master appears, knowledge will be there. It will be facilitated through the presence of mastery. This is the mastery of knowledge. Knowledge can only come when wisdom, once again, embeds into understanding, copulating to form the child of knowledge, which is the essence of being. So take all beliefs out of your mind, and you will surely attract the evidence of experience that will be able to answer the questions that you think you need answered. You could say that sorcery is something that one becomes. One becomes sorcery in order to experience sorcery. And in order to become sorcery, one needs to start to walk the path of sorcery. One needs to start to contemplate and consider deeply. Now, sorcery comes from other disciplines, which come from disciplines, which come from disciplines. They all come from back in the early times, when the shaman was sitting in the jungles and the shaman was sitting in nature, considering and contemplating the structures of nature, contemplating the nature of the causal experience, considering the connection between the beings, to understand the proverbial chain of life, so that the chain of causal expression can be seen as an expression of the chain, for the chains are the fundamental structure upon which this universe is resting, and we are the fundamental chain running through this universe, manifesting the existence through our being. And our being is a chain of beings that are expressing the unity through diversity. And to understand the manifestational principles of life is to understand how unity becomes diversity. When one's consciousness starts to align with the principles that connect unity to diversity, miracles will start to become available to one. One will be attracted to the sphere where the particular miracles or the particular realities being shifted are to be seen, that are conducive to the nature of the growth of the seed of knowledge within, that the truth can start to become an expression of being. So fundamental is this experiential path that one needs to walk if you're truly interested in understanding what sorcery is, Go and sit in the wilderness. Be in nature. Observe nature. Observe the way in which nature's connection to you moves. Observe the telepathy between beings, between creatures. Observe the powers of the animals in the wild, in nature. Do not think of animals as subordinate or less than you. Understand that all things are created in a systemic, binary fashion that reflects the balance of all things, and that there is an equanimity of perspective necessary to understand the principles. And so equality becomes the fundamental guiding light for the consciousness. To understand that the ant is as important as the elephant, and that the germ in the ground is as important as the tree, and that all things are part of the structure of the relativity of being, then one will start to grasp the ideas of the relativity of consciousness. And the relativity of consciousness is reflecting all these relativities, for the manifestation of reality is the exuberance, the exuberating force of consciousness materializing. The electromagnetic spectrum is a manifestation of the life force spectrum, and the life force spectrum is manifesting through the electromagnetic spectrum the principles of magnetism and the principles of electricity. And when these two principles are bound in the state of harmony and balance, we have the potentiality, which is creation as we know it. And life is what binds all of this. Life is what manifests all of this. So when we start to delve deep into the life force principle, we are starting to uncover the secrets of alchemy. The secrets of alchemy are from whence sorcery has arisen. Understanding the principles, the alchemical principles of being, means one has the ability and the knowledge to manipulate these different facets of the being in order to create the manifestational reflections on the physical level of the consciousness field. To change one's consciousness at will is to change the universe, truly. So we can realize that these experiences that we seek can be found in the wilderness, can be found in the forests, in the jungles, in the deserts. And when one enters into deep states of contemplation, considering the nature around oneself, with totality of consciousness, with totality of concentration, with the totality of awareness focused towards the balance of being, the balance will reveal all things. The great sorcerers can be found in the Taoist system. They are very adept these days. Although there are Taoist sorcerers, there are sorcerers that walk various different many paths. They all come from the fundamental stream of shamanism. And the shamanism is understanding the three principles of being, the three worlds, and the way in which the three worlds and the three principles of being are an extension of the consciousness field, which is essentially the chain of life, a chain of beings that constitute the nature of the self. For when you breathe, it is by the virtue of a group of collaborating consciousnesses, a group of beings that are in collaboration in order for the breath to be drawn, a group of beings in collaboration in order for your food to digest. The organs in your body are the extremities of a consciousness field, of a being. Each organ in itself is an entity. Each different form of tissue in your body is a different form of this being's life force manifesting as form. And to understand that there is this correlating feature between all of the things in your body, and the fact that only 6 trillion of the cells in your body are your own DNA, and that the other 12 trillion, more or less, nobody counted, is essentially foreign bodies that help to create the synthesis and synergy of being. And the synergy of being is a reflection of the harmonies of life. So life is about cooperation. Matter is about cooperation. Consciousness is about cooperation, and matter is a cooperation between consciousness and form. And form is the extremity of consciousness. The consciousness field slows down to become form, and it is an accidental reaction. And this is essentially the causal field that is producing these accidents of being, as one could consider it. And these accidents of being are manifesting objects. But they all come from the causal principles, which is a manifestation of the inner emotional, mental fields reacting to each other. And when we start to spend time in the wilderness, we will notice this, observe this. The more time you spend in the wilderness, the more aligned your consciousness will become, and you will manifest, if not a metaphysical guide, an animal guide, if not an animal guide, a human guide. You will manifest someone in the flesh, or someone in the astral, or someone in the etheric, or an animal in either of these spheres, and this will become your guiding tutor. And the tutor will reveal much to you in the natures of the sorcery, in the natures of this reality's construction, and how to manipulate the forces within yourself in order to change what needs to be changed. But there is an obsession with people to get to the end. Sort of like when a man is obsessed with getting to the end of his sexual pleasure, he never fulfills a woman. When a man lets go of the end of that sexual pleasure and decides to focus on the process, that is when the man can teach the woman how to say his name in all sorts of languages very loudly, over and over and over again. And only then can you really fulfill a woman. And only when a man really fulfills a woman does he discover his true masculine power. And that true masculine power is found within the feminine part of himself. And so most men are inactive sexually, effectively. Most women, bless their souls, get minutes of pleasure instead of hours. This is because of this attitude towards reaching the climax, getting to the point. Getting to the point is not the point. The point is not the point. The point is everywhere. And when we realize that the point is everywhere, there is nowhere to get, there is no point to get to, there is no belief to know or unknow or understand or think of, we start to experience reality as it is. When experiencing reality as it is, harmonic resonance kicks in, and the vibrational field will put you where you need to be to see what you need to know, to understand how the nature of this reality has produced what you are. I have covered very base root introductory concepts, themes, and understandings in my first series 1 of the Bush Whisperers Speaks series that you've seen me sharing videos of. That is stage 1. You can't reach stage 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 until you have stage 1 covered. And as with all things, the words speak on the surface, but below the surface of the words are the implications of the knowledge, are the implications that the mind can take and strive towards creating its own knowledge. So knowledge cannot be handed to you. Ideas can be propagated as seeds can be propagated in the soil of the mind and of the heart. And as they grow, the experiential pathway towards knowledge will be uncovered and opened up between all people, and the students will be able to gain that which is relevant and relative and important for the nature of truth to find its place in the heart. But belief is an enemy. So the first series I've just completed is 108 videos. As when you consider a pentagram, there are 2 aspects to the pentagram. There is the 108 aspects to the pentagram, and there are the 72 aspects to the pentagram. For when one considers the mathematics, math being the naked sky that bears the firmament, that covers the nature of reality, as the ancient Egyptians worshipped. This mat is fundamental to understanding mathematics, the nature of being. Numerology becomes the language through which all languages have found their base roots. So study numbers and much will be revealed to you. But realize that the mind will grasp and try to create beliefs. One needs to undermine the mental ability to create beliefs in order for the sphere of knowledge to be revealed. And so the first 108 videos are striving to undermine this belief structure, to propagate seeds so that people can generate their own growth of knowledge. For knowledge is an experiential path, And it's like a plant that grows, and you need to water it with the correct nutritional substances in order for the light to create the sugar in the plant. The light being consciousness, awareness, meditation. So fundamentally, if the student is interested in seeing the master, the student needs to prepare the way for the master. Imagine that you wanted to grow vegetables in your garden. You should prepare the soil. Start preparing the soil. Start preparing the ground so that the ground can be ready to receive the seeds. Then a small seed from another plant will act as your seed that will carry the nest of the rest of the propagation that requires building this garden that you wish. So then all you would need is 1 or 2 potatoes, and to cut these potatoes into pieces and to allow them to propagate, or 1 tomato, and to break this tomato into pieces and allow the seeds to come forth and put this into the soil, and of its own accord a small piece of knowledge would propagate much more knowledge of its own necessity, in the same way that vegetables grow from other vegetables. However, the vegetables could not be copied. They would need to grow in their own time, in their own way, through their own sphere. And only once these vegetables have grown, once the knowledge has started to take root in the consciousness, the evidence would start to appear and reveal itself in the same way that the shoots would appear upon the ground and start to reveal the plant from which the nutritional substances would arise. In the same way, the consciousness works. The tree is the emblem of as above, so below. The tree is the fundamental structure of this reality, which is why all the ancient traditions have always considered the tree as sacred.
So if you really want to see the universe naked, you want to see her dancing for you, pay attention to all the correspondences. Watch the way she moves. Listen to her breath as she breathes, as the wind tickles at the nape of your neck. Listen to her silence, to the waves as they dance upon the ocean's face. Watch her words as they fall from the sky like raindrops. Pay attention to her messages in the clouds, and just be, always watching, waiting, and listening. This is the Bush Whisperer. Take it easy, keep it sweet, and keep the dream alive. Om Shanti.